Hello and welcome. My name is Whitney Clark. I'm a candidate for City Council here in District 5, the great city of Detroit, Michigan. Today I have with me Mr. Lemire. How's it going?
It's going really good, my man. Appreciate you having
Well,
me at the house.
this is exciting. This is a this is like I said an informal type of discussion. I call this discussion today District Discourse.
That'll
Just
work.
hey man, it was a last minute name I came up with. Nevertheless, thank you so much for having me. How was the drive in?
The drive-in was great. I live in historic LaSalle Gardens in District 5, so I just took a nice little leisurely drive to clear my head, shot
Good.
down Rosa Parks, down the boulevard, and took John R. the whole way down. And um, it's without a doubt that we have the biggest and most beautiful district in the city of Detroit.
It's not even close. It's not even close. Okay, so let's jump right into it. You know that these past couple of weeks have been a very interesting time here in the city of Detroit. Specifically speaking about the water main break that you, I'm sure, have heard about at this point in District 6, that is Southwest Detroit. And as you know about Southwest Detroit, it is unique in that the districts, in this specific instance, there is a correlation between the district number and who's there. So when you talk about Southwest District, we're speaking more of a Latino, South American population. Okay, so had the water main break there, and now there's big eyes on that part of the city, a big repair restoration process underway. And then Gleewell, who is the governing body over the water, I'm going to lean. I'm going to turn to you for more explanation and backstory on that. But they are now saying that in order, and I'm really glossing over this because it's a national story now. So hopefully you've heard, for those of our friends who are listening in. But anywho, now they're saying that we want to do repairs essentially for the water lines,
Right.
and as a result of that, we're going to need to increase the amount that we charge for the consumer, for the constituent, and they're having a public forum today, which is in large part why we're doing this, because I want to know what we're thinking about going into it, more of the backstory of who Gliwa is, and give it to me straight and uncut. So what's going on with that? What's your perspective on it?
Well, I'll give it to you straight and uncut, and I'm so thankful there are two children in this house, so I can handle myself accordingly.
Please.
So the Great Lakes Water Authority services 3.9 million southeastern Michigan residents, which I'm a country boy from Minnesota. I believe that's the entire population of the state of Minnesota. So putting it in
In
that
reference,
in that
yeah.
context, 4 million people. I think there's 330 million people in the United States of America. I haven't checked the census, but 4 million people. That is a lot of
Good
human
amount.
beings.
Yeah, certainly.
Um, and I have always maintained that Michigan is the most important state in the union because we have it all here. And if any of our listeners have the opportunity to go to the Guardian building, there's the most beautiful mural of the state of Michigan that tells visitors what we do. It's agriculture, it's mining, it's education, it's industry. Detroit, Michigan put the world on wheels. Before that, Detroit was known as the largest manufacturer of stoves in the country. We're talking like 1820s. And if you really want to go back 1700s, you're talking about Native Americans, you're talking about French Canadian fur trappers, and eventually, I mean, we don't need to get into the whole history of this great state. Everybody has access to a public library, hopefully, so they can do their own research. But my point is, 4 million people in this great state depend on the Great Lakes Water Authority either to provide
Certainly.
the water in their homes
Mm-hmm.
or the sewer runoff system. And so I believe it's the three County
Take a
area.
moment, though, real quick. Sorry to cut you off. Take a
All
moment
good.
to talk about the runoff system because that's one that I can and should be doing some more research on. Tell me a little bit more about the runoff, and does that play into the drainage fee in any way, or how, can
Oh
you
yeah,
explain that?
yeah. So the drainage fee, the sewerage, whatever you want to call it. Um, Unfortunately, the way that this city was and is built is on a swamp, just like Washington, D.C. So when I lived in Hamtramck in 2018, I noticed that there was a plastic PVC pipe in the backyard that was reminiscent of my. We had a similar one on my family's farm in Finlayson, Minnesota, and I kind of looked at it and scratched my head, and the water table in all of metropolitan Detroit. I mean, if you dig a hole, let's say 6, 10, 12 feet, you're hitting water. And so that's why so much of the city of Detroit is impacted by flooding, especially Jefferson Chalmers, Southwest Detroit, and of course, to all my commuters, if you've ever been on the Lodge Freeway or 75 when it's raining, you got problems.
You know what's going on. So cut me across the field here. Tell me a little bit more about Gliwa, when they came into the city, and what their role is in this water, malfunction that we've had.
Well, so I was just having a conversation this morning that everything that the city of Detroit is supposed to provide to its residents has been privatized. So the city of Detroit does not pick up your garbage. The city of Detroit does not provide you with electricity. The city of Detroit does not provide you with water. And shout out to any brave soldiers out there who send their children to the DPSCD school system. I wouldn't send my kids through that, but Detroit Public Schools still exists for its debt. $60 million in the hole with, I think, 100 existing abandoned school buildings in the poorest, most blighted neighborhoods in the city. I mean, I just said before I came here, not an hour ago, and I've said this for a decade, that Detroit is not a city, it's a brand. And unfortunately, for the people that live here, we don't get the services that we need or desire to function as a society. I mean, I got the home I live in right now. There's I think the neighborhood was built in the 20s, and so we've got a robust alleyway system. But the city gave up on the alleys 10, 15 years ago. Shh, almost done. But
Revel says hello, by the way.
what's up, Doc?
Go in your room, but we're almost done.
But so it's just so fascinating. From
you were telling me about Gliwa and how long they've been in the city.
Yeah, they've been they were established after the city filed bankruptcy, and so it's just another case of what government is supposed to be providing for us being privatized. And so I'm an old school FDR Democrat. I personally believe in
one heck of a definition. Okay.
I personally believe in a large government, and so obviously we're kind of the pendulum is swinging the other way right now, where everything is getting cut, gutted, and slashed. But I mean, I personally would not be sitting here without FDR.
Yeah.
I mean, he instituted Social Security, which my mother's mom has been collecting on since 2002.
Which is getting ready to run out.
Run out. Yeah. And my paternal grandmother, her second husband, he was a Korea War vet. And so he got VA services from 1950 until his death in 2017. And so I, just as a United States citizen, I take great offense to everything that's happening right now. All these cuts and slashes and this, that, and the other thing.
Tell me this real quick. What do you see as the future for Gliwa here in the city? Because again, I know they're getting ready to ask or propose that they charge the constituents, the customers here in the city, more money. What do you want to see happen both today and moving forward? Keep in mind in the context that I'm running for City Council District 5. Woo-hoo. You can become a volunteer or a donor by going to WhitneyClarkForDetroit.com, CLARKEFOR Detroit.com. What do you think the future should be for Gliwa here in the city as you see it, considering what's happened? I'll also say, considering that as they were doing their, press conferences, one of the things that I was kind of taken aback by is the idea that they're saying that basically, water breaks are going to happen. Like, get used to it. Like, it's something that happens.
That's not something that
right.
happens.
Right. Go ahead.
And just real quick.
No, go ahead.
The city of Detroit was founded, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 1701 or 1703?
In that time frame.
It's been a minute. Mm-hmm. So, and the city of Detroit, I would argue, is the state of Michigan. Whether or not the state of Michigan wants to recognize that.
Go into that. Expound on that.
So my family came to the UP 160 years ago, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners haven't made the brave trek to the UP. Some of them probably don't even know it exists.
I know.
But it's the Upper Peninsula of the great state of Michigan, and once upon a time, you could earn a living up there. Mining was the largest form of income because the soil is unusable from an agricultural standpoint. But so, I mean, people from the UP come down to Detroit. Mm-hmm. People from Petoskey come down to Detroit. I mean, and I'm not talking about baseball, basketball, and hockey games. This is the cultural center of the state. Mm-hmm. And for good, bad, or indifferent, almost all of the economic activity in this state is in like let's say a 60 mile radius from just about where we're sitting in downtown Detroit. Mm-hmm. Let's go up to Flint, Michigan to the north. Mm-hmm. Let's go out, let's say 10, 20 miles past Ann Arbor into Washtenaw County to the west. And I would argue, and it's not an argument, because if I look out this window, I can see
a different country.
I can see Canada,
yeah,
and I can see Chrysler has their headquarters in Windsor, and due to the NAFTA agreement in 1992 or 1994, just about no automobile is completely made and assembled in the United States. In the Americas, yes, because you've got cheaper labor across the border in Canada, and you've got cheaper labor across the border in Mexico, and you've literally got cheaper labor. When I was fortunate enough to drive down to Atlanta a couple of times in 2023, took 75 all the way down, and you see factories in Ohio and Kentucky and the great state of Georgia, and the reason behind that is because the unions are so entrenched in the state of Michigan that the Big Three just says, oh, okay, we're gonna go down south. I mean, it's almost like a backwards great migration.
We're gonna wrap up.
Let's get back to the water.
Let's get back to the water. We're good. So tell me quickly here, because like I said, we're getting ready to wrap up. But tell me again, what if you could speak directly to the CEO of Gliwa? You got 30 seconds. What would you be saying to the CEO?
Is this a good angle? Let me take my
That's
hat off.
hilarious. Oh my gosh.
If I had the opportunity to to speak to the chief executive officer of the Great Lakes Water Authority, I would say that the city of Detroit, the city of Highland Park, and the city of Hamtramck should be off the table from the Great Lakes Water Authority for the simple fact that Highland Park, Michigan has had its own water pump station since 1915, which, fun fact, the only reason they installed a water pump was at the behest of Henry Ford, because he could not get the water pressure at capacity at the Crystal Palace, otherwise known as the Model T site. So instead of using his own money, he leaned on Highland Park City Council to foot the bill with the taxpayers' money in 1915 to build a state-of-the-art facility off of DeQuinder and the Davison Freeway, which didn't exist at that time. But so Highland Park has the capacity to produce water for its 2.9 square miles, and Hamtramck, their slogan is "the world in 2 square miles," which is no joke. If anybody has had the privilege of spending the day in Hamtramck,
is definitely a wonderful place.
It's a different country.
Yeah, it is.
It's got its own rules, regulations, and mores, and I think that Highland Park should have its own water system, and I think Hamtramck should have its own water system.
Yeah.
And the issue with the city of Detroit is its size. It's at 140 square miles, but we all get our water from the same source, Lake St. Clair. It comes from one of the Grosse Points, and then there's a pump station on the east side, and then hypothetically there's a pump station in Highland Park, but it was decommissioned in 2013 because we're broke as a joke, and Chrysler moved out.
So what she would say is that you're not a fan of Gleewell.
I would say Mr. Gleewell. I would say
we're gonna run you guys.
just real quick, and I'll use my good man tact. I would just say that the Black, brown, and indigenous people of Detroit, Michigan should not have to foot the bill for improvement projects in Novi, improvement projects in Sterling Heights, because fun fact, in the north end of this city, which I can look at my annexation map, I believe was annexed to the city of
Josh. We're out of time. We're out of time. No. But your dog definitely come back. It's just I got a baby here. She's the one she's controlling the time. But I definitely want you to come back. We're gonna get ready to go up here to this meeting here pretty soon. Joshua Lemire, my name is Whitney Clark. I know, right? Yeah, you guys get out there and go let your voices be heard. But again, we just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on here in the city, what the pressing issues are, and the things that you should be abreast of, because again, these are things that impact us, and I definitely want to hear your perspective on these issues as well. We'll talk to you guys soon. Reach out to me at WhitneyClark4Detroit.com. You see it here at the bottom of the screen. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to come and chat with me, tell me a little bit more about the history of our city as you know it, please reach out. I'll be happy to have you.